The sun was setting over the vast African savanna, casting golden hues over the dry grass and towering acacia trees. The call came in just as the wildlife rescue team was packing up for the day. "We've received a report of a lion trapped inside a cave near the old riverbed," the radio crackled. "Villagers say they've been hearing roars for 2 nights. Tom, the team leader, exchanged glances with his partner, Aisha. They had rescued plenty of animals before: wounded elephants, orphaned cheetah cubs, even a python tangled in a fence, but a lion trapped in a cave? That was something new. "Let's move," Tom said, grabbing his gear. Within minutes, the team was in their truck, racing toward the reported location. The drive was bumpy, the dirt road uneven, but their focus was on the mission. Lions rarely wandered into caves unless something was terribly wrong. Was the animal injured? Starving? When they arrived at the site, a few villagers stood at a safe distance, murmuring in hushed voices. An old man, his face weathered by years of sun and wind, stepped forward. "It has been roaring, but no one dares to go near," he said. "We fear it is angry, or dying." Aisha nodded, adjusting her flashlight. "We'll take a look." The mouth of the cave was narrow, its entrance partially hidden by thick bushes. Fresh paw prints were embedded in the dirt, deep and clear, suggesting the lion had been in distress. Tom switched on his headlamp and stepped forward cautiously. The air inside was damp and cool, a stark contrast to the heat outside. As they moved deeper, a low growl echoed through the darkness. "There," Aisha whispered, pointing her flashlight. Lying on its side, a magnificent lion was sprawled against the rocky wall. Its golden mane was matted with dust, and its breathing was labored. One of its hind legs was caught between 2 boulders, preventing it from moving. "Poor guy," Tom murmured. He could see the lion's ribs, indicating it hadn't eaten in days. But something else caught his attention. Aisha gasped, "Tom, look behind him." Tom followed her gaze and felt his heart stop. Nestled in a corner of the cave, barely visible in the dim light, was a tiny lion cub. Its wide, frightened eyes reflected their flashlights. The mother lion wasn't just trapped. She wasn't just starving. She had been protecting her baby all along. A wave of realization swept over Tom and Aisha as they locked eyes. This wasn't just a rescue mission for a single lion. It was a fight to save a mother and her cub. The mother lion let out a weak but warning growl, her golden eyes flickering between them and her baby. Even in her exhausted state, she was ready to defend her cub with everything she had left. "We have to be careful," Aisha whispered. "She's scared. She thinks we're a threat." Tom nodded. They had tranquilizer darts, but sedating a weak and malnourished lion could be risky, and if they scared her too much, she might accidentally injure her cub in an attempt to protect it. He turned back toward the entrance and called out to their teammate, Daniel. "Get the medical kit and the portable jack. We need to move that boulder without hurting her." Aisha crouched slowly, keeping her movement steady and non-threatening. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small bottle of water. She twisted the cap off and carefully poured some into the palm of her hand, then stretched it forward. The lion's ears flicked, her nose twitched. She was thirsty. "Come on, girl," Aisha murmured softly. "We're here to help." The lion hesitated, her muscles tense, but the scent of water was too tempting to ignore. Slowly, cautiously, she reached out with her tongue, lapping at the water in Aisha's hand. It was a small victory, but it meant she was beginning to trust them. Meanwhile, Tom focused on the boulder pinning her leg. It was wedged tightly between 2 larger rocks, and any sudden movement could cause a collapse. They had to work methodically. Daniel returned with the equipment, his expression grim as he took in the situation. "We'll have to use the jack to lift the rock, but if it shifts the wrong way—" He trailed off, not needing to finish the sentence. Tom took a deep breath. "Then, let's make sure it doesn't." Carefully, they positioned the portable jack under the boulder. Aisha kept the lion calm, whispering to her while offering small sips of water. The cub, sensing the change in energy, crawled closer to its mother, pressing itself against her fur. Tom tightened his grip on the jack's handle. On 3, 1, 2, 3. With a slow, controlled motion, he began cranking the handle, lifting the heavy rock millimeter by millimeter. Dust and tiny pebbles fell as the weight shifted. The mother lion flinched but didn't lash out. She was too weak to fight, and maybe, just maybe, she was beginning to understand they weren't there to harm her. After what felt like an eternity, the rock lifted just enough for Daniel to wedge a thick wooden branch underneath, preventing it from falling back down. "She can move now," Daniel said breathlessly. But the lion didn't move. She just lay there, panting heavily. Tom's stomach sank. "She's too weak." Aisha touched the lion's side gently. "We need to get them both out of here." But before they could make a plan, the cub suddenly let out a small, desperate cry, one that sent a chill down their spines. And from deep inside the cave, an unexpected sound answered. Another cry. A second cub. A hush fell over the team. The second cry echoed softly, bouncing off the cave walls. Aisha turned her flashlight deeper into the shadows, her heart pounding. "Another cub?" she whispered. Tom exhaled sharply. "If there's another one back there, we need to find it, fast." The mother lion let out a weak rumble, shifting slightly but still unable to move. Her golden eyes flickered toward the darkness, filled with an unmistakable look of distress. She knew her other cub was in there, alone, and she couldn't reach it. "I'll go," Aisha said. "You and Daniel stay with her. Keep her calm." Tom hesitated. "Be careful. We don't know how deep this cave goes." Aisha nodded and tightened her grip on the flashlight. She stepped cautiously over the rocky floor, her heart racing with every crunch of gravel beneath her boots. The air grew cooler the deeper she went, the darkness thick and heavy. Then she saw it. Nestled between two large rocks was a tiny, shivering cub. It was smaller than the first, its fur dusted with dirt. Its eyes blinked rapidly as it let out another weak cry. Aisha's heart clenched. The poor thing must have wandered deeper into the cave, unable to find its way back. And from the look of it, it hadn't eaten in days. She crouched down slowly, careful not to startle the fragile creature. "Hey there, little one," she murmured. "You're okay now. We're going to take you to Mama." The cub stared at her with wide, unsure eyes. Then, as if deciding to trust her, it let out a tiny squeak and crawled forward, collapsing weakly into her outstretched hands. Aisha scooped it up gently, feeling its frail body tremble in her grasp. She cradled it close to her chest as she carefully made her way back toward the others. When she emerged from the shadows, Tom and Daniel exhaled in relief. "You found it," Tom said. Aisha knelt beside the mother lion, carefully placing the cub next to its sibling. The mother let out a deep, exhausted sigh, and, with the last bit of strength she had left, nuzzled her lost baby close. The tiny cub buried its face into her fur, letting out small, relieved squeaks. Aisha felt her throat tighten. She was waiting for both of them. Tom nodded. She wouldn't leave without them. That's why she didn't even try to move. Daniel looked at the weak mother lion, then at the two cubs snuggled against her. "We have to get them out of here before it's too late. She won't last much longer without medical attention." Tom made a quick decision. "We sedate her just enough to transport her safely. The cubs stay with her the whole time." Aisha hesitated. "She trusted us enough to let us near them. We can't let her down now." Tom loaded a tranquilizer dart, adjusting the dosage carefully. He aimed, took a deep breath, and fired. The dart struck her side gently. She flinched, but didn't fight it. Within moments, her body relaxed, her breathing slowing but steady. "Okay," Tom said, let's move fast." As they prepared to lift her onto the transport stretcher, the cubs whimpered, pressing against her limp body. Aisha stroked them gently. "Don't worry, little ones. We're taking you home." But just as they started carrying the mother lion out, a deep, rumbling growl came from the entrance of the cave. Tom froze. Daniel went pale. Aisha turned slowly. A massive male lion stood at the entrance, golden eyes glowing in the dim light, and he did not look happy. The cave fell into a tense silence. The male lion stood at the entrance, his broad chest rising and falling with slow, measured breaths. His golden eyes locked onto them, unblinking. Tom felt his pulse skyrocket. A fully grown male lion, especially one finding humans handling his mate and cubs, was a nightmare scenario. "Everyone, stay completely still," he whispered, barely moving his lips. Aisha instinctively placed a protective hand over the cubs, her heart hammering. Daniel gripped the stretcher's handle tighter, his knuckles white. The lion let out a low, guttural growl, stepping forward. His powerful muscles rippled beneath his tawny coat, and his enormous paws crushed the gravel beneath them. His gaze flickered to the unconscious lioness, then to the cubs huddled beside her. His tail flicked sharply, a warning. "He thinks we're hurting them," Daniel whispered. Tom swallowed hard. "We need to show him we're not a threat." Slowly, Aisha picked up the nearest cub, cradling it carefully in her hands. She took a steady breath, then placed it gently back beside its mother. The male's ears twitched. His growl softened just a little. Tom followed her lead. Moving with painstaking caution, he knelt and extended his hands in a calming gesture. "We're helping," he murmured, voice steady but soothing. "She was trapped. We got her out. We're taking her somewhere safe." The lion's eyes flicked toward the now-moved boulder, as if assessing the scene. His nostrils flared, inhaling the unfamiliar scents. Then, to their shock, he took another step forward, but this time, not in aggression. He approached his family. Aisha held her breath. If he reacted badly, everything could go wrong in an instant. But instead, the great lion lowered his massive head and gently nudged the unconscious lioness's mane. He sniffed her, then let out a deep, rumbling huff. He moved to the cubs, nudging each one with his nose. The smaller one let out a tiny squeak, and the big lion licked its head, his rough tongue ruffling its dusty fur. Relief flooded Aisha's chest. "He's checking on them," she whispered. Daniel exhaled. "Then we might have a chance to get them all out of here safely." Tom made a quick decision. "We need to get the stretcher moving now, before she wakes up. If he sees us carrying her away, he might get defensive again." But as they lifted the stretcher, the male lion suddenly stepped in front of them. His massive body blocked the cave's entrance completely. Tom tensed. No, come on, big guy, don't do this." The lion let out a low chuff and sat down. Aisha blinked. "Wait, he's not attacking, he's waiting." Tom's mind raced. The male wasn't stopping them from taking her. He was just making sure she wasn't alone. He wants to come with her, Daniel realized. Tom hesitated, then nodded. "Then, let's take them all." Aisha reached for the radio. "We need backup. We're bringing in a whole family." As they carefully carried the lioness out, the male lion rose to his feet and followed them into the night. The night air was cool as they emerged from the cave, the male lion padding silently behind them. The villagers who had gathered at a distance gasped, some taking cautious steps back. A full-grown lion, walking freely beside humans, was a sight no one had expected. Tom and Aisha kept their movements slow and deliberate, carrying the unconscious lioness carefully on the stretcher. The cubs followed closely, their tiny paws kicking up dust. But everyone's eyes remained on the male lion, who stayed near his family, his muscles tense but his aggression contained. Daniel spoke into the radio. We need the transport truck ready now. We have a full pride coming in." A response crackled through. "A full pride? What do you mean? No time to explain. Just get the vet team ready." By the time they reached the truck, the medical team had set up an area with soft blankets and emergency supplies. Aisha gently placed the cubs inside first, and they immediately curled up beside their mother. Tom and Daniel carefully loaded the stretcher onto the truck bed, making sure the lioness was positioned comfortably. Then came the real challenge. The male lion stood a few feet away, watching their every move. The moment they lifted the lioness, he had tensed, his tail flicking sharply. Now, with his mate and cubs in the vehicle, he looked uncertain. Tom turned to the others. "We can't force him in. If he doesn't want to come, he'll stay behind." Aisha frowned. "But we know he won't leave them." The two cubs whimpered, sensing the shift in energy. One of them let out a tiny, helpless cry, barely loud enough to reach the towering male. That was all it took. The lion's ears perked. His deep, golden eyes flicked between his cubs and the humans. For a moment, he hesitated. Then, as if making a decision, he stepped forward and leapt effortlessly into the truck bed. Gasps rang out among the villagers. Tom felt his breath catch. "He just got in on his own," Daniel murmured in disbelief. Aisha let out a nervous laugh. "Guess he really isn't letting them out of his sight." The male lion circled once, then settled beside his mate, resting his heavy head near the cubs. His body formed a protective barrier around his family, and his eyes, though wary, held no malice toward the humans anymore. Tom exhaled. "All right, let's move." The truck rumbled to life, kicking up dust as it sped toward the wildlife sanctuary. Inside, the vet team worked quickly, checking the lioness's vital signs and preparing fluids to help her regain her strength. Aisha sat nearby, watching the male lion as he kept a close eye on every movement. He didn't growl, didn't lash out, he simply observed. "He's trusting us," she whispered. Tom nodded. "Because he knows we saved them." As the truck sped through the night, carrying the reunited family toward safety, Aisha couldn't help but smile. They had set out to rescue a trapped lion. Instead, they had saved an entire family. This heartwarming rescue proves that love and loyalty exist in every species. The bond between this lion family was unbreakable, and thanks to the dedication of the rescue team, they now have a second chance at life. But countless other animals still need our help. Wildlife conservation efforts rely on people like you, whether through donations, spreading awareness, or supporting rescue organizations. Every action makes a difference. Join the fight to protect endangered species and give vulnerable animals a future. Share this story, support wildlife sanctuaries, and be a voice for those who cannot speak. Together, we can save more lives.